everyone, I'm Louisa, and I've been a part of leading worship as a singer, a leader, and a choir director for more than 20 years. There's a lot that goes into building a strong vocal technique, but it all starts with your breath. So in this video, I'd like to talk about and show you some foundational components of breathing to help you as you continue growing in your vocal technique. You've been doing it since the day you were born, so most people wouldn't consider breathing to be a skill. But as a singer, you may have already recognized that proper breath control is one of the most important skills of a strong, healthy singer. Pitch, tone, volume, blend, all of these things start with your breath. I want you to think about yourself as an instrumentalist for a moment. You may think of your voice as your instrument, but I want to challenge that perspective today with the idea that your entire body is actually your instrument. And if your entire body is your instrument, then your entire body needs to be involved in the production of your sound. Let me give you a miniature anatomy lesson to explain this a little more. Your lungs sit within your rib cage like this, just above a parachute-shaped muscle called the diaphragm, which is the muscle that controls your breathing. Lungs do not have their own muscles. Their function is entirely dependent on the surrounding muscles in the body to create space and pull air into them like a vacuum. There are two separate muscle groups we tend to use to fill our lungs with air, and they each have a significantly different effect on how sound is produced. First is the rib cage and its surrounding muscles. So when you create space around the lungs by expanding the rib cage outward, this is what we call chest breathing. In chest breathing, the center point of your diaphragm is anchored and the outer circle spreads up and out. So you create space for your breath up and out. This is high and tight breathing, and it's usually what we engage in during a stressful day. Shoulders tense up, respiration quickens, and the ribs create a lot of resistance, making breath control much more difficult. In contrast, when you create that space for the lungs by expanding the abdomen below the rib cage, this is what we call belly breathing. So looking at that parachute muscle, instead of it being anchored at the center point, the diaphragm in belly breathing is anchored around the edge, and the center point moves up and down, filling the lungs from the bottom up. Since there's less resistance from the belly than from the ribs, this way of breathing allows for much more lung capacity and stronger breath control. Now I want you to stand up and actually do this with me. Don't do that thing we all do where we don't interact because we know no one's actually watching us watch this video. To really understand this, you have to feel it. So don't be too cool for school. Even if you feel silly, get up and do this with me. First, just take a few breaths here to examine your own natural way of breathing. Take a deep breath. Notice if your shoulders move. Are you trying to suck in your gut? Do your ribs spread out? Now let's experiment a little. Let yourself slouch a bit. Put your hands on your shoulders and take a deep breath, raising your shoulders like you're trying to fill your shoulders with air. And now expel your air as strong and as long as you can, using your ribs to squeeze every bit of air possible out of your lungs. Notice how long and how strong that breath felt. Do it one more time, now that you know what we're doing. That was chest breathing. Let's try belly breathing now. Stand up nice and tall. Put your palms flat against your back, just above your hips. Now keep your shoulders still and breathe low and deep, like you're trying to fill your hands with air. Feel your back and abdominal cavity expand. Let your belly hang out. Now again, expel your air strong and controlled, using your belly and tightening your core to squeeze every bit of air possible out of your lungs. Notice again how long and how strong that breath felt. Let's do it again now that you've got the hang of it. I could keep going. So you probably noticed that you had a lot more air to spend and a lot more control over how you spent it with that second breath. This is why belly breathing is so much more useful for singing. Here's a quick exercise to do every day to help build those breathing habits. First, you'll inhale to the count of 3, being mindful of filling up that space in your abdomen like we just discussed and keeping your shoulders relaxed. Then you'll hold that breath to the count of 3. Then exhale to the count of 3, using your abs and trying to control your exhale so it stays strong and consistent. And then hold for the count of 3 again at the bottom of your breath before you inhale. Then repeat that cycle a few times. Let's try it together. Breathe in to the count of 3. Hold your breath at the top for the count of 3. Exhale to the count of 3. And hold at the bottom to the count of 3. Do that cycle a few times to help your body get used to breathing this way. And as you get stronger, add counts so that you're inhaling, holding, and exhaling to the count of 4, and then 5, and so on. But be smart. Stop and breathe normally if you get dizzy or lightheaded. Spend some time doing this breathing cycle and see how much it affects your pitch, your blend, and your endurance. I think this foundational understanding of where your breath comes from and how to intentionally use it will really help you as you grow as a vocal musician. So keep working, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep having fun.